This is Terms of Reference. I'm your host, Stephen Laddick. Nida'a Nasser has worked as a project coordinator in numerous civil society organizations, such as the Society of Public Advocacy in Jerusalem, the Project Against Early Marriage in Kufr Manda, the Menara Society to support friends with disabilities in the Arab community, and the el-Hawakeer Association for Agriculture and Community Development. She currently works as a program manager for Baladna, the Association of Arab Youth, and as a research assistant at Mada Al-Carmel for applied social research. Nida'a received a bachelor's degree in social work from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem in 2008 and a master's in research of conflicts and struggles at the College of Social Sciences. I spoke with Nida'a in Haifa, Palestine. Nida'a, thank you so much for being on Terms of Reference today. I'm really excited to have you as a part of the show. Tell me, first off, let's start with the easiest question of all. Can you tell me what it is that you do right now for Baladna?
Well, right now I work as the projects manager for Baladna. Basically, my role is to facilitate all the programs, activities that we have in Baladna. So my basic work, my main work actually is to all the time keep following after all the projects that we are having. We are working with almost 40 facilitators who do the field work. So my role is basically to follow up with them and kind of develop the projects and to make sure that we are keeping the vision and the objectives of the projects that we are having.
Can you give me more specifics about maybe one or two of the specific projects that Baladna works on?
Well, nowadays we have around 9 projects, but I will regard to the biggest project that we have from the first beginning of the organization back to 2001. It's the Youth Leadership Program. The Youth Leadership Program is about having several groups, like grassroots groups of youth people. Basically, it's important for me to mention that we are a youth organization. We work basically and almost only with youth, and when we are talking about youth, we are talking about teenagers from the age of 14 till 28. These are the target group that we are working with. So the main project that we are having from the first beginning of the establishment of the organization is the Youth Leadership Program, where we work with the grassroots youth groups in several villages. We are working nationally with villages within the 48 regions of Palestine. Actually, we are a youth organization in Israel, working with the Arab Society, Palestinian Arab Society in Israel, within the Israeli state. And what we are doing in the Youth Leadership Program is having, it's more about educating and fostering the Palestinian identity within the Arab youth. It's basically because we feel, and this is the vision of the organization, that the educational system does not really educate for the Palestinian, for the collective memory of the Palestinian people. And it's basically focusing, and it's the political agenda of the state in general, but especially for the educational system, to educate for the Israeli, we can say, Zionist collective memory. It's basically about educating for the narrative, for the
Sure.
Zionist narrative instead. So what we see, our role is kind of educating for the Palestinian history and for the Palestinian identity, that we are not exposed to it in any place, not in schools, not in institutes of any institute, even the youth institutes that the government is in response of. So our main role is to try to fill this gap that we feel is important for our national interests in general, but with youth especially, because we think that this is the generation that we should all the time kind of educate for Palestinian and collective memory of Palestinians. So the youth leadership,
So how does your program, how does Baladna specifically contribute to that? Are you training youth? Are you providing classroom education? Are you doing university classes? What are the specific activities that you're doing to promote?
Well, this is the vision. Like, this is the main vision, but we do not only work about that. We also work about social issues, because we cannot really separate between the national and the Palestinian identity and between the social issues. We also try to foster progressive values and democratic values within the Palestinian society in general and within the youth generation in particular. So we see these two goals, and we this is our vision. It's in all of our programs, not only in the youth leadership program that I started talking of, and we are using all of these methods that you said. We are having groups. I said grassroots groups of youth. We are having where we carry on workshops, facilitators that we give them trainings in the beginning of every year, carry on several workshops with these grassroots groups of youth. And we also sometimes we try to do workshops not as groups but as separate workshops in schools. We are not all the time allowed to do that from the Israeli Ministry of Education. We do trainings, we do social campaigns. We rely very much on social campaigns because we believe that all youth are on Facebook. Like, most of their times are spending on Facebook. So we rely a lot in doing videos, posters, and all of this social media tools, using all of this social media tools in order to convey some messages to youth that we can do it in 3 minutes video, and it can really reach, it can, youth can really get affected by that, instead of having lectures, long ones that are not really talking to youth and are not really adapted to to what youth like.
And so you're creating the materials. You're creating, like you said, Facebook posts, posters, video snippets. Is that work that you specifically do, or is that what your facilitators do, or do the facilitators help Arab and Palestinian youth to create it? Where does
both?
Okay.
Well, actually, first of all, this is one of our methods, the social media. We create other stuff also. We create educational materials that I'm going to regard to later on, but we produce videos, we produce posters with professionals that help us really to kind of decide of the way of conveying these messages through videos and through posters. But we also train, sometimes, not in all cases, train the youth to use these methods in their work, like in their work with groups. They sometimes use also these methods of posters, of videos, in order to try to also kind of mobilize youth, because sometimes you really need to use these tools in order to recruit youth and to let them feel connected to the issues that you are trying to work on. But it also as ways to reach the wide society, not only the groups that we are working with. So it's both. It's us with professionals creating and producing these materials, videos, posters, and all of these tools, and youth facilitators that we work with to use these tools with their own grassroots work with youth.
Mm-hmm. So step back for a second. Tell me, who funds this? How did you said this is your longest standing program. I believe you said 2012, if I'm not mistaken.
And one.
Okay, 2001. Okay, wow, even longer.
Yeah.
I apologize. Yeah. Who funds it? Where does the funding come from? And are you a part of that fundraising?
Well, actually, not only this program, but almost all of the programs. I said we are having, we have now almost 9 programs. It's all funded by funds, by applying proposals to funders, and it's basically.
Give me a sense of who those funders are. Is it UN agencies? Is it local, foundations? Is it international foundations? Is it wealthy individuals?
It's more international, more you can say from Europe. We do not like. It's important to say that we do not rely on local funders, basically because we see our role as working about something that like the antithesis of what the Ministry of Education is doing. So we cannot really ask for funds from Ministry of Education or from any Israeli ministry because we would have like some certain conditions and trying to control the things that we are working on. So we do not really prefer to get funds from Israeli institutes, governmental institutes, neither funds from like any Israeli side, because we think that if we are going to that area, so they would condition our work and they will have their say on the content of our work. So we do not really prefer to have funds from there. We more rely on funds from European funders. It's more international, like the UN, like the EU, like we have like several funders, CCFD, like HEX, like the Hawakeers. Like these are our like basic funders.
How much of your time is spent raising funds?
Well, I'm not the one who is raising funds. Thanks God. So,
how much? So
role.
So in your organization, you have people who are solely dedicated to the fundraising capacity?
Yeah, it's like basically one full-time employee who is the fundraiser, who would like seek for funds, who would check all the time which funders can we send proposals to according to our needs and the projects that we think that we should maintain. So it's basically a fundraiser who is working with that, with another assistant, we can say, who is like it's more volunteers that we are having from several colleges from abroad. So it's two people, of course, with the director of the organization, who's like also responsible for like lots of our energy and lots of our time and lots of our nerves also is really dedicated for the funding issue, because it's really very critical. Like we are depending on that. Like the whole life of the organization is depending on that.
Tell me about, the nerves of it. Do you find that it creates anxiety and stress because funders don't give you very much money, or because you feel responsible for doing a good job, or why is it stressful?
Well, actually, we feel responsible for doing good job because we believe in the things that, like in the things that we are doing, with no, like, not only because we have to prove to the funders. So we do our good job because we believe in our role and we believe in the vision that we are having. So, but it's nerves because you have all the time to make sure that the project that you are carrying on now is going to go on. And most funders do not really fund according like to what I know and what I'm aware of. Most funders that we rely on do not really guarantee for funding a project for 10 years. So it's more year by year that you have to renew the contract with the funders. So you will all the time, sometimes you can't really know if this project will go on for 3 years or for 4 years. You have to renew your proposal and your contract, every year. So I think this is like kind of not giving you the space really to think for like strategically for 4 or 5 years. You all the time have to focus in the main year that you are having now, and to have the results that you decided from the first beginning of the year.
Give me an example of one of your strategic goals, either for the youth program you were talking about since 2001 or for the organization. And how is it you measure your progress against that goal? Like what do you use to say, yes, we're moving the needle, or we're progressing towards achieving that goal?
Well, I think that what I said in the beginning, that it's more a vision, it's more to work on educating for Palestinian identity and more to try to foster progressive values and democratic values within the Palestinian identity. Out of this vision, we decide of strategic goals for each program. So it depends about which program we are talking of.
So can you pick one? Whatever your favorite program is, can you give me a specific example of a strategic goal?
Well, I can, maybe we can talk about, we have a program which is combating the civil service
and
program.
Which is the compulsion that you have to go serve in the civil service?
Yes, it's actually in this stage. It's not compulsory. It's more voluntary. Like the Israeli Institute try to all the time encourage Arab youth to go to civil service, and we kind of not only as an organization. I think there is a consensus within the Palestinian society that we are rejecting this program out of several reasons, because we think that it's kind of trying to educate for Israeli identity instead of Palestinian, try to condition our rights with our how do we say?
You're saying that it's indoctrination into Israeli society rather than maintaining.
Exactly, and conditioning rights also. So what our vision and our strategy is to really reach the wide majority of youth who are involved in this program, because nowadays we have 3,460 youth who are participating in this program. So our role and what we think we want to reach within the next years is to try to minimize this number to zero, actually. So this is one example of our
and are you offering them alternatives to that civil society participation, or is it merely educating them about why they should choose other alternatives?
Well, we all the time encourage volunteering. One of our other programs is encouraging volunteering and kind of fostering volunteering values in the Arab society. But we do not see our role to find an alternative for civil service, because we are not a country. We are a minority, a national minority in a situation of occupation. We regard to it as occupation. So we do not really think that we are a ministry or we are a country that's supposed to find an alternative for this huge program that's giving money also to people. They are giving 1,000 shekel a month for everyone who participate in this civil service program. So we do not really see our role, and we cannot really guarantee to have we can't have this role, even if we want, even if we see this as our role. We do not have the financial capacity to really find an alternative. We think that our role is to try to educate youth why they are not supposed to be part of this program, out of national and out of values also, and not to really find them the alternative, one-to-one alternative.
That's it's difficult to compete with that when you're dealing with a financial incentive like that.
Yes, first of all, basically because lots of the youth who participate in this project, first of all, they are girls, 90% they are girls, and the main motives for them to be part of the civil service is out of financial needs, because poverty is we are a poor society in general, so people we have problems in employment, of course, and of course for girls in villages that have no, they cannot really find work, so they would prefer to go to the civil service for almost $250 a month for full-time work.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So they would prefer to go there, and we can really convince them, and they can get convinced of our discourse. But in the end of the day, they need this money because they have no alternatives, and we do not think our role, and we cannot really provide them with this like financial alternatives. We can really bring them opportunities of volunteering, and this is what we did. We kind of tried to be in contact with several organizations within the Arab society, and to try to focus the opportunity, like to try to make a website. We did a website with all opportunities of volunteering in the Arab society in several organizations, and did campaign in social media in order to encourage people to go and to volunteer in organizations, but we cannot really compete with the financial side that the Israeli ministries are trying to do.
I'd like to change directions for just a second. You're clearly passionate about the topics that you're working on, and you've worked for other civil society organizations in your career. Why did you choose this particular career? There's any number of choices available to you maybe. Why was this one where your passion lied, and how did you find your way into this career?
Well, first of all, I started studying pharmacy for 1 year.
There's a total difference.
Yeah, it's different. I started studying pharmacy, and it's really in our place, it really demands high grades in order to get to the pharmacy, to study pharmacy. But after 1 semester, I decided I do not belong there, and I should not be there. So why I decided to be in this sector? Because I think I regard to it as a job, but I think that this kind of a job is not a job in the first stage. It's something that you love. It's something that you believe in, and you try to advance, like to take it to a more advanced level as a job and as a professional, as a profession. But you have to be passionate about it. You have to believe in the thing that you are doing. You have to really love the work that you are doing. And so this is what I think. I believe in this. I believe in social work. I believe in political work also, because I think that our work is political. It's nothing but political. It's not development. It's political work. Mm-hmm. So I think that I believe in that. I love that. I think that this is our role that we have to do, especially in our social and political context. I'm not sure if I was born in another country, if I would love to do this work. So maybe if in another social and political context, I would choose to do something more, maybe I would like to go to art, or to go to something more cool. I don't know what the word is, but I think that in our context, sometimes we do not have the choice. We have to do it, because it's in the time when you start sensing that there is injustice. So when you start sense that there is injustice, so you start moving to do something, and you can decide to take it to more advanced level as a profession. And this is what I did. I studied I had my first degree in social work, community social work. This is my first degree, and my second degree, my master, is in conflict studies. This is basically why I chose to be there.
And I'm going to assume one of the questions that's on the tip of our listeners is, how dangerous is this work for you? I mean, clearly it's a volatile area that you work in. You've said yourself, you may not even have participated if you were in a different part of the world. Do you find yourself putting yourself in dangerous situations? Have you ever had violence affect your programming?
No, and in my job, no. because like our main work relies more in having groups and like in workshops, trainings, and all of this kind of work. So, and within in my job, no, I am not really facing any kind of violence or stuff, because this is it's not the place where you can face that. As activists, like, and it's important to mention that most people who are in the civil society in our context are also activists somehow, either social, political or feminist or activists. So in another context of my life, I would face violence. But like within this specific role that I have in Baladna, this is not the place where I can face violence. If we regard to violence as like harming people like physically, but I think that violence also, the political context that we are having, it's kind of violence. This is political violence.
So structural violence, so to speak.
It's structural, yes. This is structural violence that we are all having. So if we are talking about this description and of violence, so sure, we are having this violence as a whole society.
Tell me about what it is as a project manager. What tools do you use to manage your projects? Are you simply using pen and paper? Are you using Microsoft Office products? Are you using some other special project management software? Or what are the tools you use to manage the projects you have?
Well, first of all, the first tool is by being in contact with people. I have field work that I have to go to the groups. I have to see what's going on in the field. I have to visit the groups to have like meetings with the facilitators, like separately with each one of them, and we have like for in each program we have a meeting every month where we can really share our experience and what we had through the month, also the trainings that we are having. So it's more like contact like with people. So we have this weekly report that we are supposed to have, like that every one of them send weekly. So it's more about like besides the telephones and the meetings that we have face to face, we have also the reports that they are supposed to send them every week, and I try to focus that in one chart. It's more Excel chart that I can see in each day what are the things that I need to follow up with. So it's basically there, and all of that is like also in my agenda, like because I am the one who is supposed to follow up with that. So it's more in my personal agendas, but we have like this Excel sheet where we can really have all of this things that we have to follow up every week and every month.
Okay.
In addition to the Google, how do you say, the Google schedule, where we can
Google Drive or Google Docs, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you're using online collaboration as well.
Yeah.
Are there particular tools that you need to use to report to your donors, other than sort of being able to write a document in Word, or do they have any specific technology they require you to use?
No, like we basically have the format that the donors send every, like it depends on which donor, but it's basically every 3 months or 6 months. So they send the narrative and the financial report that we have to fill in and just to give them back. Some of the donors have this charts where we have to fill numbers of how many people participated in that and how many female and male participated in that. But this is part of the narrative word format report.
Tell me about a typical day for you. If there is a typical day, do you have a certain sort of pattern that you follow, or is every day different?
Well, actually, we can say a typical day and night, because we can. I'm not sure. It's a very intensive work. It starts really in 8 in the morning. It finishes sometimes in late hours, like in the late evening, 9 and sometimes 10. It like typical day is really is basically about having some meetings. These meetings can vary, like some of them are field visits to groups, to several things that we have, or sometimes I would do the workshops myself, so I would go to some schools or to some, because like you like we kind of do more work than we are supposed to do. Like we do like extra work than what donors demand us to do. So sometimes we would overload ourselves as a staff in order to really make sure that we are doing the things that we think we should do. So like my day is about having this field visits. It's about having meetings either with facilitators or with organizations that we are cooperating with and as partners in some projects. And then sitting on the computer and making phones to millions of people every day and sending emails and trying to do this office work in addition to all of this side of reporting to donors, like working with the fundraiser in order to do this reporting for the donors. Also trying to develop the programs that we are having, because like my job is not only to make sure things are like activities are made. We have all the time. I have all the time to think about how to really develop that within this year.
How do you prevent, or how do you ensure that you don't burn out, if you know what I mean? Because it sounds like if everybody's working, 10 hours a day or 12 hours a day, it's possible that you might throw your hands up and say, oh, I can't do this anymore, and you burn out. How do you prevent that?
Well, it's a good question. I'm not sure I know the answer. I won't pretend that I know the answer, because I really think this is a very demanding job. Like the work that we do in the civil society is really very demanding. But I think also that the profile of people who are working, like including me, are people who really believe and in the work that they do. So, like, I make sure that I do not burn all the time, that I remember what's my vision and what I'm there for. Like, I think that this is a thing that keep our energy and keep us energetic and not really, what did you say, burning out?
Burnout,
so I think this is the way.
So, that said, where do you, if you can imagine this, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? Do you see Baladna or a similar organization continuing to grow and, you continue to do good work?
Well, I believe that Baladna should, I believe that we should, improve our work to reach more people, like horizontally, to reach more, because the problem of so many social society organizations, that we do not really reach the whole society. We reach 10% of the whole society. So I think that we should think strategically how to reach more youth and to really try to reach this, how do you say, the hardcore of youth.
Okay, the hardcore. I was going to say critical mass.
Yeah, the critical mass, but this hardcore that we should really work with, like the people who are really affected by the social and by the political atmosphere that we are working with, that we are living in. So we should not really reach only this 10% of youth, and really reach more youth. And this is not an easy job to do, because I think that all of the political parties and even the organizations are really working only with this 10% of society. So I think we should think of ways to kind of expand ourselves and reach the whole society, I mean. Well, personally, I don't know. I do not. This is like my vision, how we should, what we should do in Baladna, like what we should, what the things that should really matter now for Baladna is to reach like the wider society of youth, is to try to work in like more grassroots work more to reach the whole society. But personally, I do not know, and I think this is the problem of all youth in my age, 28, that we do not know what are the options that we have. Like, we do not feel belonging to a country that you can really develop in a country. We, like, within our context, you do not really know what is the next stage. Like, you feel that there is a certain stage that you can reach and there is nothing after that.
If you had someone come to you tomorrow and say, I would love to be working with Baladna in the same way that you do or in a different way, or I would like to pursue similar kind of work in either political or development work or humanitarian aid work, what's your most important piece of advice to them about how to break into this kind of career?
Good question. I think what I think, I don't know. I think that people who believe in and who really feel connected to the issues that they are about to work in can really break into the career. It may seem very romantic and not professional enough, but I think that people who really have this passion to be in this career can be there and can prove themselves. If this is the question that you asked, maybe I'm not understanding your question well.
Sure. No, that's. I think that's one way to answer it. I'm wondering if there's any particular skill or particular experience or particular degree, particular education that they should have in order to be successful.
Okay, I think yes. Okay, and now I understand your question. I think that yes, it's not only about believing, and it's not only about passion. You would like, personally, I studied social work, like community social work. So I need that there is a need to really pursue some professional trainings that you should have. It depends. Like, I do not really know the answer because it depends on what organization. If we are talking of Baladna, it's different than like trying to get in another organization.
Okay. Nida'a, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen.
You've been listening to Terms of Reference, a weekly podcast from aidpreneur.com. Find us on iTunes or at www.aidpreneur.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.